We're good.
All right, welcome back. Another episode, C-Suite Unfiltered. It's been a minute. We took some time off. You've been doing some more turnarounds.
Yeah.
So you've gone to, I don't want to spoil anything, but Arizona. Where else?
Last time was, and then Cincinnati was the second one.
Okay.
So if we do a two business turnaround, like two businesses on one trip, then we were gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, kills the pod.
Yeah.
And then like next week we're doing 3 businesses, so we're doing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Kills the pod. So
it's all good.
The pod keeps getting whacked, and it's probably gonna be like more like every other week now. So.
Yeah, that's fine. I know you're a busy guy. So there's one coming out. Well, at
Today.
time of recording today. Yeah. You said it might not be the most exciting, might not be the most dramatic.
Well, the reason it's not the most exciting, it's actually it has a really good story. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about that in a second, but. The reason I said that on the mastermind this morning was because we forgot the camera. Well, the cameras got stolen, like in this transit on that trip. So literally, we were shooting with phones.
Nice.
But I think they captured the essence of what was going on, and like it was insane because it actually really caught like the employees literally coming into the office and like the card is bouncing and like not going through. Ooh. At Home Depot, and then it happened like multiple times, and like the office person like, oh, this is embarrassing, and like caught all of that on camera. And then like we went to the job site, and like they hadn't called the customer, so the customer like called them off the job. Like it was like it was a lot of stuff. So that one's coming out. That one's from I think it's Missouri.
Okay.
Somewhere out there. That was from a couple of shows, like travels ago.
And is that one going to be, you basically told the owners inside of Augusta, hey, this is like must watch. Not the most entertaining, but it's must watch. Yeah. Why is it must watch? Give us the kind of the teaser.
It is the result of getting distracted with other businesses. And what happens when the result of that. And most of the time people point towards people who are really successful, like, oh, they did all these businesses. Like, no, they did one really good business. Then they went to a second one. Then they went to a third one. They didn't try to do 10 at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so he's trying to do real estate investing, his hunting business, and lawn care and landscaping at the same time. Yeah. And really all of them aren't doing well.
Gotcha.
I should say the hunting one's doing the best, and he should focus all his time on that. So literally this is the first time, and by the time people are watching this, it'll be out. At the end, I literally he should close the business down. And
which ones?
He should close the lawn care business.
Okay.
down.
Oh, wow.
He should focus on the hunting business. Yeah. Because that's where his passion is. It's where it's already profitable. It has the most scalability. And he's like, let go of this whole real estate thing because he's literally just using like outside funding, like hard money loans and like other people's money. And he's like probably making $100 a month on it. But all the time and energy, he's the sweat equity with other capital in. So he's like, oh, there's no money in it. Like, yeah, you're making $100 a month. And so, yeah, you can... get creative with your financing all day long, but you're giving equity away, and therefore the meat on the bone is not enough to warrant spending time buying houses. And he's managing all the contractors and all the rest. I'm like, you're literally probably making a couple $100 a month. Yeah. So, and then people with real estate specifically, they're like, well, I'm building my long-term wealth. It's like, yes, why don't we wait 5 or 10 years so we can go buy 10 times as many properties and we'll build our wealth a whole lot faster. Yeah. Instead of trying to like nickel and dime these little deals that are like no money down where you have no equity because like real estate's where the money's at. It's like, well, yeah, if that's where you always spend all your time, energy, and attention, you're probably going to do a lot better. But if you're trying to do that and 5 other things at the same time, none of them are going to work well. Yeah. And so I literally told him like he should close down his lawn care business, he should stop doing real estate, and he should just focus on his hunting business. Yeah.
That was going to be my guess too when you said it. Like, I didn't even know the guy, but lawn care, real estate, hunting, it's like, oh, he's probably passionate about the hunting, right? And I could see that being split. And I've been in multiple roles as an employee of yours where I am clearly more passionate about certain roles than I am others. And so it's like, how do we incentivize that? How do you support me to get into more of a role that I'm more passionate about than a role that maybe, yes, I can do, but I'm not as successful. There could be someone better suited for that role.
I had some thoughts about that.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
cool.
We'll talk about that. I was thinking about you on the weekend.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, I was thinking about you too. Well, since you brought up real estate, this is interesting. This also came up on a mastermind. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. Yeah. I feel like people would probably want to know. This is from mortgagereports.com. So Fannie Mae introduced a 5% down payment option for multi-family homes. What are your thoughts on that? Because historically, it's been you have to do 15 to 25% as like a minimum, right?
Yeah, so technically, you're supposed to be wanting to live in the house for a year, 12 months. But again, with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, like you just say you have the intention of living in the house and you're fine. Yeah. And then the loan officer's like, yeah, don't tell me you're moving, like whatever. Yeah. So that's how it's treated. Now, there's certain limitations. However, when this came out, literally last month, I was like, this is fantastic. I could literally go buy 10 fourplexes.
Yeah.
And like, that's 50% down, like 5% times 10. So I would personally need about $400,000 to go get 40 units. That's a deal.
Yeah.
Now, that sounds great in theory, and it is good in theory. Here's the problem. Buying 10 different deals is going to take me a lot of time, energy, and attention. It's not the 400 grand. It is the time and attention of wrapping up 10 different deals. That would be an absolute beast. Furthermore, that $400,000 spent on something like CoPilot right now could be like, that leads to like a few more developers. Right? That leads to like an AI engineer that I could get. And like the return on that in the next 12 months would be greater than what I'd make in the real estate in terms of cash flow for the next 5 years. And so everyone's like, oh, it compounds and like real estate's more like stable. It's like, yeah, well, my confidence level in CoPilot is just as great, if not greater than the real estate market, especially in the short term. And if I can build in the short term, my cash reserves, I can go buy the real estate later on. And so what my point was in the mastermind was like, look, these are great opportunities. But like like what Jeff Bezos said, he's like something along these lines is like the level of someone's success is determined by how many great opportunities they turn down. Because that means that you're focusing on the greatest of those best opportunities, and that's where the greatest returns are met. And that's for example, with Luis in the turnaround show is like, okay, you have all these great opportunities. Yes, real estate's a good deal. Yes, your long-term business has opportunity. Like obviously I believe in the industry. You have hunting, like all this other stuff you're trying to do. Like let's pick one and let's look at the one that has the highest opportunity. And right now, in the short term, it's your hunting business. Go make that way more profitable, and then you can come back later on once that thing's kicking off cash and has a whole bunch of redundancy and delegation. Then you build your lawn care business successfully without a whole bunch of debt. And so in my mind, like this thing is a great deal. I think for anyone that is like, this is like quote unquote non-financial advice, would be like, look at this deal as a fantastic deal, especially if you can get a fourplex that has some land and you do your business on that. You could kick butt. Up here, a fourplex, you're looking at a minimum of 800,000. Like minimum. That's a old junky fourplex. You're looking at more $1 million plus for a fourplex. Lots of parts of the U.S., $500,000-$600,000 will get you a fourplex. 5% down, you're looking at 30-40 grand with closing costs to be able to be moving into a house, have 3 tenants, and then have your shop space. That's a deal. Now, in this environment, you're going to be paying with PMI and all the rest of it, like high insurance, high cost of interest. Like it's a lot. Your payments are going to be very high. You'd be very lucky to even just break even between the 3 tenants and paying off. Like you'd be very lucky. You probably won't. But the fact that you'll be able to live there and have it your business there, usually that can make sense of it, even with the high interest rates. And then down the road, interest rates will come down. You'll refinance at like 4 or 5% versus 8 or 9%. So I think it's a really good deal for people, but I get concerned when people start spending time and attention on that instead of their greatest opportunity. And like for an example, like this morning in the mastermind, I was talking about like, I have to identify what are the 1 or 2 main things I need to be doing, and everything else needs to be delegated or let go and cut. And I'm just trying to do that myself because like that's what I expect of the franchisees. And when you join Augusta, it's like, you're not going to do your lawn care business and these 5 other things. You're going to focus on your lawn care business. And I did that for 10 years before thinking about anything else. And so, that's really what I was talking about this morning in terms of like what are my 2 or 3 things that I should be focused on, and everything else kind of goes by the wayside.
Yeah, it's kind of like the branching off of the real estate thing, but just opportunities in general, right? I feel like there's a lot of people fall into 2 camps, and entrepreneurs are usually in this latter camp. The former camp would be the analysis paralysis, right? There's so many opportunities. I don't know what to do. Sometimes I find myself in that spot where I'm like, I'll listen to a podcast on like the stock market, and then the next week I'm like studying marketing, and then the next week I'm studying like sales, and I just like, I don't know what I should focus my time and energy in. There's so many cool things I can learn, but I feel like entrepreneurs default to the latter, and that is just like diversification, FOMO, fear of missing out. They're like, I have to do this, I have to try this. This is a great opportunity. The numbers make sense. Like I must pursue this. The math adds up, and then you end up just totally diminishing the returns you could have had if you would have just stuck with 1, maybe 2 things.
Not all good opportunities are your best opportunity. And that is, I think, something that everyone should figure out, whether it be an employee or a business owner. There's always, especially in a market, we're kind of coming out of it now, but like especially the past few years when like everyone's hiring, it's tempting the same way we talk about business owners for employees. Like, well, there's so many opportunities and everyone's offering a job, and so it's very easy to be like, okay, well, I can go from this one, and it's like, okay, let's think about 10 years from now. Where are all these businesses going to be, and is this the vehicle you want to commit to for the next 10 years? And I talk about all the time with business owners, but I'd say the same thing to team members.
Yeah.
Typically when I say that, though, it's like I'm talking to my team, and it feels like I'm trying to like retain them. So it feels weird for me to say that. But if I was saying like to any team member, it'd be like, look at 10 years from now where this opportunity is. Because a job is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to make money. And so you got to like distinguish, like, where is this opportunity going in 10 years? And is there enough legs on it for me to actually be engaged in it within the next 10 years? If not, then I look for other opportunities. Because the same way that I think most business owners think in terms of like the next bright, shiny thing, the same thing is true for team members. And so it's like, what vehicle are you in as a business owner? What vehicle you're in as a job? And figure out what gives me the most latitude in the long term.
And some vehicles have better foresight or less speculation than other vehicles.
Yeah.
Right? Like real estate, there's been a proverbial bubble for 3 years now? So like what's going to happen versus like, lawn care landscaping industry, like it is in high demand. Home services are growing. Like I can grow the business successfully. I have a good customer base. So it's just interesting looking at the levels of speculation down each individual route you could go.
Yeah. Like obviously I believe a lot in CoPilot, but honestly, when you look at like strip down the industries, I believe that Augusta has much more stability than CoPilot. Because CoPilot, I'm talking about software.
Yeah.
Like the most volatile thing in the world. Right? Then you have Augusta. Grass will always grow.
Yeah.
Leaves will always fall, and trees will always grow. We will always be in business.
Yeah.
And then you look at real estate, the reason it's so like stable is because like we will always need a place to live.
Right.
And so typically with more stability, your returns come down. That's why with real estate, you're typically happy with 8, 10, 12% returns over the course of time. If you're lucky in a crazy good market, yes, it spikes 20, 30%. That's not normal. It usually goes like 2% a year in terms of the value. And so the more stable industry, typically your returns are less. And that's why with software, you can crush it and make all this money. But like in 10 years, that software could be completely antiquated with things like AI, et cetera. And so, Apple will absolutely not be able to outlive a piece of real estate. It's just like, it won't exist probably in 100 years.
Yeah.
And so, there's some, to think about.
Yeah, I like that. Well, let's talk about CoPilot. I feel like it's been a few weeks. Obviously, we took a week off, and we haven't done kind of a deep dive. So you have had some pretty expected, unexpected growth recently. A lot of people jumping in. That year-end price lock still goes to December 31st. But yeah, tell me about kind of what's been going on at CoPilot recently. Obviously, your corporate locations or the locations you own inside of Augusta are all switching over to CoPilot this week as we speak, and we are fully committed to developing the software and using it. So give us some updates.
Yeah, so like everything just happened a little faster than I thought.
Yeah.
So everything was like charting in terms of like projections.
Yep.
Up until like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then I had that cutting edge conference.
Yes.
And that kind of everything started blowing up.
Yeah.
And so I think it was in hindsight, everything looks good. Like what we did was like, oh man, like that was just very good.
Yeah.
It was just, and so
chef's kiss.
Yes. And so, and then last week, other CRMs raised their prices. So within like 10 minutes, I'm scrambling on the plane, getting the team together. It's like a Friday evening. I'm like, guys, I know we were planning this in 3 weeks, but I need this in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so we basically started to advertise the price lock guarantee. We had talked about it internally with the members, but it was like, hey, it's time to go on the offensive.
Yep.
And so, it's been nuts. And so there's pros and cons to that. And so the pros are obviously the fact that like we were way ahead of our projections, and it's been allowing us to hire a lot more people. And the cons are that like all the systems of the business get stressed because like in lawn care, for example, during spring rush is when we get close to that stress point. It's like, you're getting 10, 15 mowing customers joining all the time. The thing is, once you've done that for 10 years at the Bellingham shop, for example, it's like you kind of expect that, you can hire up for it.
Yep.
We weren't expecting 4 weeks ago to literally like more than double the business.
Yeah.
And so everything just gets stressed. Like development gets stressed. All of a sudden, like our servers are bogged down, and we must move to AWS. Like right now, we're going early. Like we have to because things are slowing down. And then like support gets overwhelmed because all of a sudden we go from 50 chats a day to 500 chats a day.
Yep.
Like it's all exponential. And then the problem is like new users, same thing with new customers for mowing, is they take more care and requirements, set up like their credit card on file for a customer, they have a request about to add job notes, whatever. Well, the same thing is true for new members in a software. Like they require help with onboarding. They cause mistakes. They have a lot of user errors. Like they forget to put templates in certain spots, and then it becomes a big, it's a bug. Like, no, you forgot to put the email templates in the settings. And so really though, we take responsibility for that because we don't have the bandwidth when all of a sudden it doubles like that to do onboarding. And so really what we're trying to gear up for right now is like just incorrect, like way more hiring of support staff. Because what I want to do is in January have it where when a new business comes on, we can actually onboard them kind of like Command Center does for Augusta.
Okay, very cool.
Now, obviously, that one's like way more efficient because we're all using the same systems and we can do more for the franchisees. But in terms of like the public, we could import their customers. We could set up all their settings. We could set up all their automations and all their email templates. And so we can only do that though if we have like 3 Zoom calls with them. And like we have like a very structured onboarding program. Hard to do that when like literally 15 and 20 people are joining every single day. Like new business is just like dumping on you. It's just like how like I almost turned off no one could join because it was just like this is too much.
That's like a cardinal sin though for you.
Yeah, but the same thing is true with like in the spring rush. We to turn off leads is a cardinal sin, and so sometimes you just got to do it for your internal team and for existing customers.
Yes, of course.
So for existing customers for mowing, you're like, hey, we just got to protect what we got, and I almost did it for protecting existing members because like it's causing everything to slow down, et cetera. So we pushed through AWS. That was a trial because we pushed it sooner than we had hoped. We were hoping for end of year. It has to be done now, so it's a month early. And then now we're just like going on this hiring bonanza. I took my manager from the gym. She's gonna be the operations manager just to keep hiring people like 10-4. So it's just been crazy. I really appreciate everyone's support though. Like we've just been like kind of breakneck speed, and so there's more bugs than I'd like, and so I really appreciate the support from the audience. And I'm doing like live streams a few times a week, and like just trying to, cause like as soon as I post that, so within like 10 minutes of me posting that on social media on the plane, saying, hey, everyone that joins before the end of the year, we're doing a price lock guarantee for enterprise level users. And so literally within 10 minutes, the calendar for Christian and the sales team just like completely booked for all of December. Like, oh, brother. So then I've just been doing webinars to answer people's questions and things. And so I really believe though that like in January and February, there'll be like a very definitive, like, okay, everything's more stable. There aren't as many bugs, but like we've just had to be going at this frenetic pace for like this whole year. And so now though we switched to AWS. That's going to help way more with the servers. I am paying for an extra 70% of capacity in AWS in terms of server. So like if like literally today, 100 people joined, it'd be just fine. If 1,000 people joined, we'd probably be just fine. If 2,000 people joined, we'd probably slow down. But I don't expect that to happen. And so we're like paying for that. So that the server's good. Uptime, fantastic. And then it's a matter of like, we have the beta group now. So now when features go out, they won't roll out and cause an extra 3 or 4 bugs because we didn't see it in testing. It'll be like, it'll go through the beta group, they'll find the bugs, and then we'll launch it to the public. And so more testing, layers of testing, et cetera. And so we'll get better. But January, February, I think there'll be like a very definitive, okay, like things are a little more stable. There's not as much things breaking. And even now, like our bugs aren't like the site is down. It's like, oh, this is loading too long, or like this is not, when I click on here, it's not working. It's less big stuff. But that still needs to be ironed out. It's not acceptable. And it just kind of stinks that I wish all this rush came in like 2 months. Cause I know in 2 months, it's going to be people are going to get in and it's like, okay, this is like really good. So I really appreciate everyone joining. That's why we did the price lock, because it's bumpier than I would have liked.
Yeah, that makes sense. Speaking like specifically to CoPilot software, what elements do you feel in software development that you can be extremely proactive to versus elements that force you to be reactive?
In terms of software?
Yeah.
Like how can I help
development.
Your business?
So software development for you specifically at CoPilot. What is your team consistently proactive about, and what are you forced to be reactive about?
Okay, good point. So yeah, like I would say looking at the backlog and looking at like the roadmap is we try to be as proactive as possible, right? So what we're trying to do right now, for example, is like I need to hire a application designer for UI and UX that before we hand stuff off to the developers, say, hey, build this feature, we actually have like wireframes, clickable wireframes. Instead of like right now, we make a video, we do have a form we fill out in terms of like definition of what done looks like, what parts of the code are touched. And so we've improved that over time because it used to be like pictures and text. Now it's like a form and a video and stuff like that. It needs to be more like clickable wireframes and more structures. When we hand it to the developer, they know exactly what we want from a product perspective.
Gotcha.
So that'd be a more proactive thing that we're trying to work on. Reactive is like, there's a big problem. How do we deal with it? And so that is a matter of building infrastructure for like people to be on call. We have now systems in place that like some of this that you can hire, right? So we hired an AWS team to help with the migration. I'm paying them too much money to like basically every month be on call. So if something happens to AWS, they jump in and like it's red alert. And so we look at like, what am I most reactive to is like uptime number one. Then it's like what's affecting page load time speed. So if like the whole system all of a sudden takes 20 seconds to load a page, that's a problem.
Yep.
Then it's like bugs, right? And that's the that we have deprioritized the past year, right? And then it goes features and then it goes UI UX. And so the things at the top, features and UI UX, like make people happy. The things below that, bugs, page load time, and uptime, those things create customer dissatisfaction. And so right now, those three things at the bottom is what's annoying me and the users, and that's been the inconvenience. Because we've been mostly focusing on UI, UX, and features, which is actually backwards. And so I would say in terms of my reactivity, it's like the thing I still have to improve at is like when I see someone's issue, immediately I'm reactive. And so what I need to realize, like for example, I ran a thing last week, like almost 75%, like 72 or 73% of things that were in the Facebook group that people were like, there's a bug. 73% of them were either user error or they just need to clear their cache. And so I don't like to censor the Facebook group, but we've realized like, hey, it is causing distress with members because they're seeing the same thing. Like, oh man, I gotta go test that because in a couple hours I gotta be using that. When it's like a majority of those are either user specific and they have an error in their end, or they just need to clear their cache because we just put in a new feature, right? And so then it's like, how do we take ownership of that? For example, like, can we force a cleared cache? Right, so we're looking at that right now because like this past week we pushed price matrices and job costing, and a bunch of people had random errors. And we're like, we cannot duplicate this stuff, and then they're not clearing their cache correctly either. Like they're clearing their last hours. Like, no, you got to clear the whole thing. And so it's like, can we push and force a cleared cache? Can we log them out automatically and make them have to log back in so that it doesn't happen? Because like in the moment, I understand as a user, if you're in there and all of a sudden like something that looks like it's broken, you immediately want help, right? And that's like very normal behavior.
Yeah, totally.
And so the easiest thing, unfortunately, right now is literally take out your phone, take a picture, and put it on the Facebook group.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is like we don't have access to your account. From like if you submit it to ATC, we can immediately go into your account. We can immediately diagnose. We can immediately see your console log and like see what's going on with the code. And like, oh, you just didn't clear your cache, or like, oh, like this template's not connected. Go into your settings and here it is. And so the path of least resistance is the Facebook group.
Right.
That makes me extremely reactive. And so there's a part of me that's like, I try to distance myself more from the Facebook group. I try not to look at it certain periods of the day. But also it's like, we are trying to make a better system so that when someone, like a customer gets reactive, they have a better route of getting that information to us.
Gotcha.
So right now, like the forms, I don't know, I'm like way in the weeds.
No, you're
apologize.
Good. I like it.
But like submitting a bug for us, like we are happy that we are able to, at every stage of a bug, when someone submitted it, they get notified of the status changes and like that update being made to the ticket. We want to make that easier and like making it where, for example, when they submit a bug, we can actually get their console log and a video of like what they were doing the past 1 minute in that ticket automatically. Things like that we're trying to think about so that when they get reactive, there's an easier route to actually get help instead of just putting it on the Facebook group. And then we have to like either be like, hey, you didn't clear your cache, or like there's 10 other members that just like react. They jumped on their site, like on the software thing, and they had to check that out only to realize like it wasn't an issue on theirs. Yeah. So that's kind of stuff we're working on. I apologize. It's kind of random.
No, I liked it. I wanted to just see like there are elements of every industry, whatever business you run, that you can always be proactive towards, but there are elements that you will always have to be reactive towards, right? Jocko Willink talks about it in Extreme Ownership, where he says, you know, you can put a perfect battle plan together, you can get your guys trained, but there are elements on the battlefield you will have to react to. So I just thought, what's that look like in software? That was my main question. Yeah. What is
It is in part because I know what it's like to have a bug in the software. I also know what it's like to report a bug and not feel like it's being heard. So when any of those two things happen, my level of stress just goes through the roof, even if it's one user.
Yeah.
And so I really do believe though that having the better onboarding process to make sure that their settings are set up, they have the templates in place. There's not like email links that have no template attached to them. Things like that, it'll help. So we're trying to take ownership for this. It's like the reason this is happening is because we do not have the time right now to onboard people for like a week out. Like if you want an onboarding call, it's like 6 to 7 days right now. That needs to be within 24 hours. Because then we can extinguish these issues. But someone's going to hop in. They're not going to watch all the CoPilot University videos because no one does that. They're going to start doing stuff, and they're going to think there's bugs. And it's like, no, it's not. We didn't onboard you correctly, and it's ultimately our fault. So a lot of these issues will be resolved like just hiring a ton of people.
Yeah.
So that's
just labor.
Yeah, dude.
Just more labor.
Yeah,
that's fair. I did pull this screenshot. I didn't know if you would want to talk about it because it was posted in the CoPilot group.
Oh, nice.
But are you willing to talk about this like publicly? It's not anything I felt like.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Overly.
The one thing
crazy.
that was in the Facebook group people were asking me about is like the level of revenues and profits at CoPilot. I've kept that more closer to my chest just because we have a couple very litigious competitors.
Yeah.
And it actually stinks. I don't know if you heard me talk about this the other day. Oh, it was on live stream. Never mind. But someone was asking about it, and shout out to Brent who asked the question. And he deleted the post later because he realized it could be potentially like used against me. But he had asked like, where's the finances of CoPilot? Because like obviously if someone's joining, it's like, we want to make sure you're making money because
that's
sustainable.
Yeah, great question. Yep.
And so I was like, hey, like I'm sorry to be coy about this because I actually wanted to build CoPilot in public. This is actually a conversation I had earlier this year. And that is like, do I show how many users we have and show the user growth and show revenues and when we hit profitability and like what's our break even? Because I think it'd be super cool.
Really cool.
Like I think as like someone watching from the outside, I would love to see that.
As would I.
But man, it'd be used against me right now.
Yeah.
And so, because like when someone's switching to a new CRM, they're coming from two places. And the same thing is true with lawn care. Either you're getting a customer who's never had lawn care service before, or you're getting a customer that came from another lawn care service to you. There's only two options here.
Yep.
New customer, never had lawn care, like, we're going to get a lawn care service. I got money now, I'm retired, whatever it is. Or you're getting a person who came from ABC Lawn Care and is coming to you now.
Yeah.
And the good thing about lawn care is you usually don't know who that person is, and they don't know who took their customer. With us, it's very easy to know who they're coming from. We know where they're coming from, and they know where they're going.
Yep.
Because they're asking them on polls. And so when a CRM sees a lot of people moving from their software to us, guns start coming out. And they're looking for whatever they can use against us. And I just so that's why I'm not as open about it. But what I did tell him is like, let me just make sure I'm careful. We've surpassed all our projections. We have no need to raise outside money. We have no debt. Fantastic. I own 90% of the company. There you go.
That's great. Okay, so getting back to the post, don't want to get you in trouble, all right? But you don't have shareholders to answer to, so that's nice.
I wouldn't mind shareholders. I like it. I like the idea of building things in public and like having other people involved. I really do. Yeah. It's like the biggest reason I want to go public is because like I really do want to see shareholders make money.
Yeah.
I want to see people have like be able to look at the financials and see them. Like, there's nothing I'm hiding, and they're good. So like, I would love to share this with you. And I think in part, like for example, sorry, we're getting off topic.
No, you're good.
Like Alex said, he had to sell his company to get validation so that people would listen to him, and it gave him credibility. For me, it's similar in that like when I go public, I will be able to show my revenues. Yeah, I'll have to publicly share them, and I'll be able to share like how many people this made millionaires like that have worked for us for years, and like that will give me so much credibility to then talk to small business owners that are like, oh, like there's real numbers I can look at now, because it's tough right now. Yeah, because like I don't share as much revenue and how much I'm making and how much the revenues are and like all that sort of thing, and I've been relatively like, hey, like we're around 10 million, like. That's all I've really said. And so I think it's a matter of like down the road, that would be so cool. And I think employees, I think it's helpful too.
Yes.
They're like, okay, they're financially sound. I can see the direct impact of my work on revenues and profitability, et cetera. And I try to do that with individual and departments of the company, like open book management.
Yep.
But like, I can't put it all together right now. Like I need an investment banker to come put this all together and package it all, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, massive side tangent. Back to the post. Go ahead.
It will be fun. So you posted the other day in CoPilot, the private group, you said you're going to share some monthly objectives, focus for the team that is working on. And then I'll put this on the screen so someone can read it verbatim. But you said, and this is, I'm assuming in specific order because they are itemized 1 through 4. Number 1, your focus is to refine job costing, price matrices, and sequence automations. Number 2, reduce reported bugs from 25 down to below 5. Number 3, start on revamp of forms, waiting list, and packages delivered in Q1 of 2024. And number 4, hire and train more ATC support for onboarding. So this priority list was developed by you and the team, and why this specific order?
This is developed by me.
Yeah, okay.
This sort of thing, I still...
it was just top down.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
It is a, what is it, benevolent dictatorship.
That's fine.
But yeah, like I'd say like it is mostly in order. I'd say number 4 is like actually the most important right now.
That's kind of what I wanted to ask. I was like, well, it seems like to do those other 3, you might want to do number 4.
This is somewhat of a PR move because I have to realize that like this is what I said above in the post is like everyone's priorities inside of CoPilot are different. You have to remember my audience here. My audience right now is people inside the software. Mm-hmm. So to them, most important is refinement, fixing of bugs, and then their pet features.
Yep.
So that's literally how refinement. Number 2 is bugs, and number 3 is those are the main features I know people are waiting for.
Yeah.
Now, number 4 really only affects from an onboarding perspective new members. I'm not speaking to new members.
That's fair. That's a good point.
Right. So you just got to remember my audience here, and I'm not. I hate to make it sound like I'm two-faced because like these are the most important things to us. But like the way I did this was I'm speaking to an audience. I know what they think is most important, and I try to get as close to that as possible because these are all very important to us. Right? And all of these, like today I have meetings on all 4 of these things. Yeah. We're doing all 4 at the same time.
Yeah.
But like the way I listed them is in priority of what my audience thinks is priority typically.
Yeah. I liked it. I figured I'd just ask, but that makes complete sense. All right, let's change topics. I have something else I wanted to show you.
Okay, cool.
I'll put this on the screen as well. So I saw this recent meme about Ford versus Tesla.
Okay, cool.
And I thought it's very interesting, and I want to get into the specifics. The question is that I'll propose to you at the end after you read this meme is, how does Tesla keep getting away with this? So here's the meme.
Okay.
And it says, Ford, May 19, 2021. This is our new F-150 Lightning. May 26, 2022. We are now delivering and selling Lightnings. And then you look at the Tesla section, and it is someone quite literally doing gymnastics and a bunch of delivery dates crossed out. And then, it's coming December 2023, we promise. And now they're already saying it's coming Q1 2024.
Yeah.
So how does Tesla keep getting away with this? It's interesting, right? When you look at this, like, yes, obviously it's a joke. Yes, it's extremely reductive, but the timelines are fairly accurate. I went and Googled it. I was like, oh, these are pretty accurate dates. Like, they announced on these dates, Ford had theirs in production and out to the public. Tesla, we're still waiting while we're seeing some out in the wild. So how do they keep getting away with this?
Because you have a visionary founder that has a mission that's beyond just creating shareholder value.
Yeah.
It's the same reason why at CoPilot people are putting up with more bugs than I want to have.
Yeah.
It's because they believe in what we're trying to do, and that's like put pressure on the industry to increase their features for their users.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important to have a founder at the front. There's no way in the world that Tesla would get away with this if there wasn't an Elon Musk at the front of the headlines being like, oh yeah, by the way, like when he announced this 4 years ago, whatever it was, there was no electric pickup trucks. They all just followed suit.
Yeah.
So he created that whole industry, and he's at the forefront of it, even though he came behind all these other trucks.
Yeah.
And so the same thing is true with CoPilot. And it's the same thing. It's like the vision of what we're trying to do, people believe in, and they're willing to get behind because it's like, and when they're willing to put up with more, because the vision is what's pushing the whole industry forward. And so the whole reason right now that like cost of electric vehicles are dramatically sinking is because everyone saw Tesla and started overproducing electric cars.
Yeah.
And that's the whole objective of Elon wanted.
Yep.
And so, shareholders started demanding literally Toyota and these other, electric or combustion vehicles, to start making electric vehicles. Like it just put pressure on them because they saw the value creation in Tesla, and they're like, we want that. We must create electric vehicles, and now they're taking a massive hit on it because they're literally following after the founder's vision. And so, regardless of what size of business you're at, whether you're talking about Tesla or CoPilot or your small business that you have 2 employees, the vision must be clear to the team. It must be like, why do we exist? Like, why does Ford exist? Because they've been around for 100 years, I guess. Like they're really, it's optimization of shareholder value. They have all these dealers that have perverse incentives. They have the auto workers
strike.
Union.
Yeah.
They have other incentives. Everyone has all different incentives. Tesla's very clear. We're trying to electrify America. Like we're trying to electrify the world here, and we're going to use that to like solve the crisis with climate, and then we're going to get to Mars. And this funding of Tesla is going to literally allow us to get to Mars.
Yeah.
And somehow they've made that very clear. Like this connection of like, when you think Elon Musk is like creating electric cars, takes money, use that to get us to Mars and save the world.
Yeah.
That's his version of saving the world. Like my version of saving the world is like make small business owners rich, and we're going to do that by like making a bunch of money at CoPilot, dumping that into being able to put pressure on the rest of the industry to improve the software, which will help the small business owners. And so people will put up with more, and they're willing to pay more. Like he also just, by the way, like increased the cost of the truck by like 50%. Like from the time of announcement, it was like $49,000. Now it's like $100,000.
Yeah.
And so, but these things are swept under the rug. Not so, and some people would like, that's so horrible. It's like, no, it's because the founder has a vision. It's very clear to everyone working there. And the team members realize they don't need a union to go up against their superiors, because they don't need a union to go and fight for them, because there's actually like a vision that's clear and everyone's going the same direction. And that company will beat out anyone else. Where there's perverse incentives and dealerships and unions and like management and vendors, and they don't have any vertical integration. So they're dealing with parts of like a gazillion different companies to put the truck together. So unified vision and then a common goal of everyone on the same page, that company's just going to wipe up. And everyone following is willing to put up with way more.
Why do you think he has such a like magnetism about him, but also he's very polarizing? Like why? How do you think he's done that?
Results, baby.
Yeah, that's it.
It's results. Like they have like 87% of satellites being in orbit are from SpaceX.
Yeah.
He literally created an internet network that is like governments depend on him.
Yeah.
And that's like unheard of. It's cheaper than any other. Like it's the best, right? You go drive a Tesla and you compare their auto driving features versus the other. It's way better. And so when someone just consistently has a track record of like, okay, everyone counted him out when he was doing Model 3, and he just stepped in during production hell and started working on the front lines and just making it happen by sheer brute will. And you can disagree with him like on politics and how he handles stuff and all the rest of it, but you cannot judge against someone on their track record. And they sell more electric cars than any other manufacturer. They're the only company that does in the U.S. besides Ford that has not gone bankrupt and been bailed out by the government, and consistently has been counted out by the government, and therefore the underdog inside all of us, we cheer for that person. So when they weren't like, he's playing this so perfectly. So like when they weren't getting invited by the White House to the whole electric car thing, that was perfect. That was exactly what Tesla needed, because it just cemented in everyone's brain they're still the underdog, and the longer you can stay the underdog, the more you win. And like, I'll give my secrets away here, but like CoPilot will eventually become massive. And the longer I can keep it as we are the underdog, tearing and trying to claw at the Goliaths of the world, we're good to go. Like we will just keep kicking butt. That's how Mac and Apple did the like Apple versus Windows ads. That wouldn't work anymore, because now Apple is just as big, if not bigger, than Windows. But as long as we see the clear underdog, that's who we cheer for. And so when the reason that like the White House didn't have Tesla come and like snub them the way they did, that is like why people are willing to put up with this. They're cheering for the underdog. They don't want Ford to win. They want the underdog to win. So they're willing to put up with all this other stuff. And so that's why a lot of times you see like the curve of like when a company goes from great to mediocre and then they start failing. That curve typically comes when they stop becoming they stop being the underdog and clawing and being scrappy, and they switch to like, we are the incumbent and we are the leader in the market. That's when innovation drops. That's when engagement from their team drops. That's when vision drops. That's when unions have to pick up. That's the type of thing that like the company starts to fail from then.
Yeah. I think this is the perfect transition here. And that is, I'm assuming you saw snippets of Elon's recent interview for the New York Times.
I watched the whole thing.
I did too.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Well, so I had watched a couple snippets, and then a couple people mentioned, like, it's very good. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I got to watch it.
Yes.
So I did
Yeah,
watch it.
good. Yeah, so I watched the whole thing, and I think he had a pinnacle underdog moment with the go blank yourself moment, because that's an underdog move right there.
Yeah.
It didn't come from a like some people were saying that it was blank you money, like he's talking from blank you money.
Yeah.
I took it as, no, he's talking as an underdog. He's like, these big corporations don't want to work with me. They think they can squish me. They think they can make me play by the rules of their game, and I'm not going to, because I'm the underdog.
This is textbook branding. Like,
yeah,
oh my
it was
goodness.
so good.
It's so textbook. Like, so for example, at conference, remember when someone asked me about lawsuits? And I said, like, the best thing is, like, kick them in the teeth.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm under a bunch of lawsuits from, like, the Goliaths of the industry. And, like, I'm going to kick them in the teeth.
Yeah.
And, like, that just rallies around people around your brand. Because they don't want Goliath to win. They always want David to win.
Yeah.
And so it's not, like, even if he's not doing intentional, and, like, even in the moment at conference, like, I wasn't intentionally thinking about that.
Yeah.
But, like, that's why people are behind you.
Yeah.
It's because you have a vision and you're the underdog. People want them to win. Like, they just like, if you have two teams you're watching on football and you just don't know either one, the number one thing I'm looking for is, like, oh, you know how they rate, like, in college football?
Yeah.
Like, number,
Power
like,
rankings,
first seed, like 1 and versus 9. I'm like, number 9, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I have no idea who these teams are, but I want number 9 to win.
Yeah, totally.
And I think it's the same thing is true with business. It's the same thing with leadership. And so what Elon has mastered, he's the richest man in the world. And we still look at him as the underdog.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
That's incredible,
Yeah.
dude. So that's the part he's mastered. I don't think it's necessarily by craft. He's just that way, and he really doesn't care about a lot of these things. And so you can craft your brand as much as you want, but eventually it'll fall through. So if you don't actually believe in what you're saying, eventually this whole, like, trying to create this perception
Like
of being
facade.
underdog will fall apart.
Yeah. Yep.
And so that's why, like, from day one, I've tried to be like, this is the mission, this is what we're trying to do. And, like, for example, if I went out and bought, like, a $10 million house right now, everyone would be like, wait a minute, like, we haven't got to the goal, and he's, like, celebrating.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that wasn't the mission. And immediately you'd break, like, the facade of, like, oh, I'm trying to, like, grind and hustle and trying to get this thing done for the betterment of small business owners. You'd immediately see through the facade. He just hasn't done that.
Yeah.
And so, anyways.
I think a lot of people see Elon as, like, political's the wrong word, but a political underdog in the sense of the powers that be outside of monetary power. Yeah. He is going against them, right? The whole not getting invited to the White House, like disrupting just like the order that we assume that corporations should hold to, right? He's like, no, I'm just not going to take your money. Yeah. Like, if you don't like the way I run my stuff, like, I'm just not going to take your money. You can't blackmail me with money.
And being apolitical when he's wrong. So, for example, like, in that interview, he's like, that was the worst tweet I ever made. I'm sorry. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Like, no politician can say they made a mistake.
Yeah.
It's the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, I just think people would just, like, if you make a mistake, own it, say, here's what I did wrong, here's how I'm fixing it, and, like, I'm going to do better next time. And our politicians just can't do that for some reason. And I think that somehow they believe that that's better going to help them in the polls. And it's just going to give fodder to their political opponents, which it does in the short term. But in the long term, you lose the trust of people if you just don't take ownership of stuff.
Yep.
And so, like, it'd be great if, like, Hunter or the Biden came out like, yeah, my son really messed up. He's an absolute goofball. The whole laptop situation was an actual thing. Yeah. I'm sorry. Here's what we're doing to, like, make sure he's not in politics and not getting money from other countries. And, like, like, people would respect him a lot more.
Totally.
But, like, that will never happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Whereas, like, Elon at least can be like, that was the stupidest thing I've ever said. I tried to add context afterwards. I apologize. And even though it wasn't an apology to her, I went over to see Netanyahu in Israel and, like, I apologize. Like, that's not what I meant to say.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. My biggest takeaway, just kind of switching to, like, the finer details of the interview, my biggest takeaway was just one moment, kind of a throwaway comment, but he basically said at Tesla, and it goes back to your comments on, like, everyone knows what his vision is, so they're bought in and they're going to cheer for him.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
He said, I've had floor workers that didn't even know what stocks were that are now millionaires. And, like, I respect that. I am an employee. I'm not the entrepreneur. I'm not the visionary. I'm an employee. I'm an operator. And I respect that because whether it was a throwaway comment or not, you can go and verify that. You can go find who those people are. You can go look up the testimonials, whatever. And I just think that's really cool that, like, that is what I'm going to root for. I'm going to root for someone that creates opportunities for other people, a good work environment, a good work culture that allows them to better themselves and their financial standing in life. Like I will always root for that.
And that's why being able to say that is the evidence and the proof he needs to hire the best talent.
Yep.
And that's why like going public in part is like why I want to do that. I want to be able to say like, Lee came and worked for us at pushing a lawnmower.
$14 an hour.
All these things, and he came to this level, and now he's a millionaire because we went public.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to say that. And I think by doing that, I get the best team members. That's why the best talent wants to go work for SpaceX and Tesla.
Yeah, totally.
Because they have evidence and proof that this happened.
Yep.
And so I'm just a big believer in like creating the proof and creating a track record. And so for example, like people right now, like they're asking about like CoPilot. Like you have all of our data. You also compete with us. Like, isn't that a problem? And I'm like, look at the track record of like, I have also controlled the data of hundreds of people getting leads from their website. Never once have we misused that.
Yep.
I also have the social security number and all the tax records and all the finance from home service CPA of my direct competitors.
Yeah.
Never once have I misused that. So there starts to become evidence and proof that people can believe in because that's the best form of proof. Like, I don't make promises. I try not to say stuff like, we're going to do this. We're going to, like, just look at the track record. And like, that's the evidence required to gain the best people and gain trust with people. And so now with Elon, like he's getting all this just evidence.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, we have the Model Y is like literally the best selling car in the United States. That's a proof. That's a stat.
Yeah.
Like no one can, that's undeniable evidence.
In the world.
Yeah. In the world.
In the world.
So it's just like, those are the type of things I'm trying to go for. It's like, I want stats.
Yeah.
it's like Kobe would always say, he's like, I get paid to produce stats.
Yeah.
Like, cause like the triple and all that sort of thing in basketball. It's like, I get paid for, assists, whatever it is, points and something else. And I was like, whatever, rebounds. I forget what it is. Yeah. And he's like, I get paid for that. And that's all I get paid for. I get paid millions of dollars to produce numbers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, like that's what I'm trying to do is like, it takes 20, 30 years of producing stats. And that's what Elon's done.
Yep.
And then it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was an interesting interview.
Yeah.
It was awkward.
Yeah.
But
he has a good relationship with that reporter, you could tell.
Yes.
Because if he doesn't have a good rapport with the interviewer, his interviews are horrible.
Yes.
Horrible.
Yeah. I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was eye-opening. Nothing like insane other than just the go blank yourself to Bob Iger, basically.
Yeah, like my big thing is like people like would say a lot of times, sometimes out of jealousy. Sometimes it is because they have different opinions on things. They look at someone like Elon and be like, why does he get all this attention? And like everything he says is not gospel truth, and he's wrong about these things and all this sort of stuff. And that's true.
Agreed.
I would just say that if you had thousands of hours of your life documented and everything you did in your business literally got leaked to the media, you'd probably have some mistakes too.
Yeah.
Right? Including myself. Like if everything I did was made public and all my financials and everyone knew where I lived and literally the paparazzi was after me, I would make mistakes that were public.
Yes.
And so the fact that someone can go through all those things and they have mistakes and literally they tweet everything they think through their brain and still like 1 out of maybe 100 is really, really bad, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like if someone followed you around with a camera and interviewed you all the time about your thoughts off the cuff, you'd probably say some stupid stuff too.
Oh yeah.
And so I really give grace to a lot of these like quote unquote celebrities, whether it be in business or just in like, the music world and all the rest of it. Like they have people following all the time. Like just think about if someone did that to you. And like you couldn't go to a hotel or go on a vacation or like talk to somebody or like in an interview when you're tired and beat up after like a whole bunch of work that you have to like say words.
Yeah.
That is it's people need to give grace to these individuals.
Well, yeah, what goes viral with those celebrity paparazzi interactions?
Yeah.
The ones where they yell and scream and push them, right?
Yeah.
The ones that don't go viral are the probably 5 to 10 other interactions where they give a wave, they give a smile, and they get in their car.
And you'd get annoyed. You'd get annoyed too if you walked out your door every single day and people are taking pictures of you and you just had a bad mood. You're in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And so I give a lot of grace to these people. Obviously, because they get paid, they are held to a higher standard. And I believe that should be the case.
Yes.
That's why they get paid. And the people taking the pictures are paying for their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Same way I look at like the community and sometimes people will tear into me. It's like, look, the community is what gives me everything I've built. Like everything from Augusta to CoPilot, everything. And so like it comes with the territory, but it gives me a taste, a very, 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 very small taste of like what those people go through. And like, you know what? Like, that's not necessarily the easiest life.
Yeah.
And I think Elon he tries to make that clear and not paint like a rose-colored glasses of his life.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it's not easy.
Yeah. I have one last question for you. Have you listened to the All In podcast with Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, dude, let's go. I listened to it while I was working out.
Give me a couple words. What are your initial reactions, thoughts?
I like Tucker. He's very, very engaging.
Yes.
Like he's so good at talking.
Yes.
Like that's actually what I took away from it. I'm
Totally.
like, dude, he's so good at like not dodging a question, answering a question, but doing it in such a politically correct way, giving context, like no filler words. Like obviously he's been in camera, live TV for so long.
Keeps it light.
But like, and like punchy and like
Very
timing
punchy.
of his
Yes.
sentences. Like I'm horrible at talking.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get better, but like I'm just not even close to that. And like
Right.
obviously he has decades of experience talking. I don't have that. And so that was the actual thing I took away. In terms of like everything they said, it was definitely interesting. And I like the one point about him, like about climate change and like the fact that, what's his name? The Sultan of Science is there.
Yeah.
David Freeberg. And like he has to go through that and listen to it. But I thought they did a good intellectual discourse there.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I think for me, takeaway is, very engaging to let's do, extremely entertaining. I did it while doing chores. Like, I was like, oh, this is like, it was so entertaining, I forgot I was doing chores. Chores, yeah. Well, I got, I think it's a good conversation to listen to, whatever side of the aisle you're on. I mean, obviously, we probably know where the majority of our audience sits, but I would say it's a fantastic conversation. I would recommend it to all my friends, both sides of the aisle, just to get him not in a Fox News, scene, right? He's not working for Fox News anymore. So take that bias aside. Just listen to him as a person. Talk to these podcasters.
Yeah. I think podcasts are going to play such a massive role in next year's election. It's not even funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It
Which
will.
I'm looking forward to because like the debates are such a garbage.
Yeah.
Did you listen to the debate of?
No.
So I could not get access to one of the files I was working on on the plane, and so I watched for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It was good. I liked it.
Was it the DeSantis Newsom?
and Newsom one?
Yeah.
That was hilarious, man. It was somewhat of a rigged one because it's on Fox News, and it was literally like just setting up softballs for DeSantis.
Yeah.
But that was funny.
I heard him basically like make fun of like people moving into Florida, moving out of California. Yeah. And his father-in-law, Gavin Newsom's father-in-law, moved from California to Florida.
Painted the picture so
well.
I was walking down the street talking to this gentleman, and he like sets the whole thing. He was like, okay, why do you tell that story? He's like, oh, by the way, that was Gavin Newsom's. But then Gavin had a great point too.
Yeah.
Because Gavin still is saying that he's not going to run for president. Mm-hmm. And so he basically said, like, this is kind of a throwaway debate because both of myself and my opponent aren't going to be president next year. Oh. And it was just like, threw him under the bus. So there's good jabs. But, like, I don't think it's very useful for the
No, it was a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
That was why I didn't watch it. I just saw the buzz clips because I was like, this is a literal waste of time. If my governor went and debated someone else's governor, I'd be like, come back to the state and like work on something, fix something.
Like, you know, the perfect debate in my mind is you get an hour and a half, no interruptions in terms of ads. You have a podcast group from the left interview the right candidate.
Okay.
And then the next hour and a half is a right-leaning podcast interviewing a left opponent.
Okay.
That's all the debate, and everyone votes at the end.
But then the issue becomes like how far right, how far left, because the podcasting world gets weird.
Well, if you have like 3 or 4 people, if you have 3 or 4 people, it'd just be a matter of like, okay, like we need to have some sort of way to create metrics around how far left or right they are.
Yeah.
So like which policies are considered more left and right, which way have they voted in the past, and then create a numeric way to balance how much left or right both of these parties are between 4 or 5 people.
So Alex Jones.
That was like he would have so much right-leaning weight that the 3 people on the panel would have to be lower.
Yeah.
Right? Like more moderate.
Yeah, be interesting. Shane Gillis, a comedian, said, whoever we get down to at the end, Democrat, Republican, last presidential debate, he said, just bring out Trump. He was like, because neither of them could debate him. He was like, Trump would just come out and be like, they're both losers. He was like, that would be the true test of who should be president, who can handle him on stage.
Yeah. But what you could do, for example, like the best way to actually do that would be I got to go to an interview in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Have the American populace upvote the most important questions to them.
Ooh.
That was how you would debate like which questions should be asked.
Yeah, but I worry though because like meme culture is just so big now.
But it's fine. That's what people like. That's the general population.
Yeah.
Like if you are interested enough to take your time to vote on which questions should be asked, you're probably the one voting. So, instead of us asking these random fringe questions that actually people don't care about.
Yeah. And put someone in a corner to have to answer something extreme
Which
one
is
way
just
or the other.
all
It's
you're
a
doing
waste
is
of time.
setting them up for a one-liner. That's all you're
waste
doing.
of time. Yeah.
Okay, I have to go. I have a whole like a group interview for the support team.
Okay. Any non-financial advice?
I would say the 5% down from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, definitely something to look into if you are looking to buy a house. Just keep in mind with interest rates the way they are with your PMI, property mortgage insurance, you're not probably going to break even. But if you can get in and have your business there, kill two birds with one stone, and even if you're paying $1,000, $1,500 a month more on the mortgage than what you're making in rent, could make sense, especially if you refinance in a few years. 5% down is just too low. This is something that's never been created. And unfortunately, it's also, though, an indicator that we're in a market that is so high interest rates, people can't afford housing. And that's unfortunately what happened like 2004, 2005, 2006, is they start lowering lending standards.
Yep.
So 5% down gets me a little bit freaked out that that's allowed to happen now. And you're going to see over the next 12, 24 months, institutions come in and use this sort of rule and just start buying stuff up. Like institutions are going to keep buying up United States real estate.
Yeah. Got it. My non-financial advice is don't count Washington out. Go Dogs.
Yeah, look at you. Such a bandwagon fan.
I'm 100% a bandwagon fan. Go Dogs. Don't count them out.